My name's Addie Boswell and I write picture books. And as a writer, there's probably one question you get more than any other. How long does it take to make a book? The answer varies, and authors often have a hard time answering it. In fact, a lot of famous authors say that the correct answer to that question is, it took my whole life. I really like that answer too, but it's not very satisfying. So for my latest book, Five on the Bed, which I wrote and illustrated, I decided to keep really good track of the entire process. So how long did it take to make this book? Let's find out. The first part of making a book is the fastest and, in my opinion, the most fun. You guessed it, the idea. In this case, the idea came straight from my family. There are 5 members of my family, me, 2 cats, 1 husband, and 1 little girl. And since my daughter was young at this point, we were all doing the great sleep shuffle. But every once in a while, we could get all 5 of us happily on the bed. That's where the idea started. Since the idea takes, 5 minutes, we're going to leave that out of the count and go right on to step 1. Write and edit. Usually this takes quite a bit of time, but since there are only 66 words in the book and the idea was pretty straightforward, it took no time at all. On to step 2. Samples are just to show the editor what you imagine the final art might look like. And I was going for a really simple paper cut effect, so these are the simple samples I made. They're called thumbnail sketches because they're small, like your thumbnail, and they're quick. And the idea is not to get really nice or detailed drawings, it's just to move your characters through the book and to see kind of what different pages of the book will look like in a really quick way. So I like using these storyboard sheets where you can see basically the whole book on one page. And I also really like using Post-its because if I don't like one of my pages, instead of erasing it, I just stick a Post-it over the top. So I did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of storyboards before we had all the compositions like we liked. If you think of the thumbnails like making a map of the book, the next step, the book dummy, is adding all the details. Especially since the final art was going to be in paper and that was going to take a while, I wanted to work out as many of the specifics here in the drawings. And these are all drawn to the size of the book, which is 9 by 9 inches. The most important details for me to work out were my characters, their looks, their expressions, their proportions and ratios in comparison to each other. And all these characters were based on real people that I know. So I had photographs and I could use my family to model for me if I needed to. The cover is used for marketing, so the publisher wants that done pretty quickly, and it's the first piece of final art that you make. But first I had to do a few sample layouts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everyone liked 5 best. Now that I was to the paper part, I actually had to decide what kind of paper I was going to use. So that first sample, I used all recycled paper, but my editor said those pillows were too scribbly and distracting. Next, I tried doilies, too lacy. I really wanted to make a wood headboard out of wood veneer, but it was too hard to work with for this. So finally, we decided on just a plain blue background with the pillows and the covers made of paper towels. You can see that slight pattern if you look close. I cut all these pages out with my X-Acto knife, and they're kind of made one piece at a time and all piled together. And the most important thing is that I don't glue anything down until I know exactly where I want it, because each page has a lot of little decisions, like window, trees behind the window. You get the idea. Now I wanted to be able to see all my pages at once because the light was changing through the day and I wanted to be able to do that with the paper. So I built this board that I hung up in my studio. It's just made out of a 4x8 sheet and some little rail things I got at Home Depot. So you can kind of watch these illustrations take shape on the board. That was the final stretch. Almost. So back to our original question. How long did it take to make this book? Well, if you're counting just my time, you could say it took me 307 hours. But that's not really counting all the time I was waiting and all the time the rest of the team was doing their jobs. If you add everybody's time in and all the delays, you get closer to 26 months. Of course, that still doesn't count all the time it took me to become an author and an artist and to have all those life experiences that gave me the idea. So, if you're being really honest, the correct answer is probably, it took my whole life. No wonder I'm tired. Good night, sleep tight, and don't let your family hog the bed.